Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Rob Baer, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Mike Haspil, and Wyatt Turk. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Greetings and felicitations.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
I got stuck watching chat. What are we doing?
Podcast. We're doing a podcast.
This is the podcast. Oh, yeah. Right.
We're doing a podcast in which we are going to discuss BattleScribe, new GW terrain triggering scandal of 2020.
That's just this week.
Yeah.
There'll be a new one next week.
We got Haspil's Corner. Got a pretty full show. Actually, with actual cool things and important things to talk about. We don't have to make anything up.
Like new Titans going on. There are new Titan parts going on. Sale at
All right, I'm going to start timing you.
No, that's it. I'm done.
It's wrong. So wrong.
Man, it has been a long week. I feel like
dude. Yeah.
Seems like you jumped in on that one real quick, Mike. How was your week?
Yeah.
Well, because I was talking to your lady earlier this week, and I said something like, oh yeah, I went to this writing conference like a couple years back, and then realized it was February. I went back there in February, and I was like, oh my god,
like 2020, February 2020.
I mean, in a lot of aspects, I feel like February was a couple years back in some ways.
Yeah. So I totally get that. It's like, oh my god.
Hey.
Oh.
About to be another firefight.
Cat attack. Is it Annie and Sarah?
Yeah. They're playing a game called Who Can Get the Closest to Me?
Cats.
Clown shoes.
Cats, and of course Hero Quest. We discussed. Rest assured, Mike Haspil has a lot to say about it. You've been talking about Hero Quest the entire time I've known you. Fucking amazing.
I'm super. I wasn't sure that there was going to be a board game, so when that dropped, I was like, wow, they're really doing it.
Yeah, I was very excited. I was more excited than it probably deserves to be, but
I feel like that's pretty standard these times. Like anything just kind of cool happens, I'm in my mind, it's much cooler than it probably would have been under normal circumstances.
A couple of years ago, back in February.
Yeah, February 2020, like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we got a lot to cover, and so we'll turn it over to Wyatt for his legendary Would You Rathers.
Ooh, yes, I have a good one. Would you rather save a princess every week or capture a serial killer every week? And to go into this, like to save the princess, you go through a lot. You have to do some dungeons, maybe fight some monsters,
a couple castles.
Yeah, she might be in the other one. Who knows?
It's always the case.
And with the serial killer, you're kind of like wrapped up in his web of deceits and murder games. So it's quite possible that while you're chasing this new serial killer of the week, you could fall prey to him if you're not on your toes in the detective game.
So, which I kind of assumed. Thank you for preemptively stating that. So, we're talking about obviously Mario-esque princess saving. I'm gonna have to fight monsters for real. Is it
like supernatural?
Is it kind of whimsical, or is it full on cosmic horror? What are we talking about here?
No, it's more of like a Mario or Dungeons and Dragons scenario.
So I'm kind of OP. I just pop, monster's dead. But if he hits me, it could hurt me pretty.
Well, yeah, they could kill you. Mario could die.
So real stakes, I could die in either scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of them is I'm caught in an endless web of horrific serial killing, detective work. No family. Wife has left me already. Strings.
Why do you assume that? Like, you're just...
What's in the box?
If it's every fucking week, that's my new job, dude.
Yeah.
Or it's a sitcom, whichever.
Which also is an interesting situation here, which means there's a lot more active serial killers suddenly.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like 52
Or
a year.
There's as many as there's always been, and they're just not being caught.
True.
That's your job now.
Yep.
And okay.
What
you got, Rob?
I'm wondering what the reward
Yeah, that was my question.
Why
Is it, we talking like normal stakes here? Gold coins? What are we talking about here?
I mean, no, this is just like you have to do this.
Oh, you have to. It's like your appointed thing.
No
compelled to
reward.
do this.
Yeah. There was no mention of a reward.
I'm leaning towards serial killing, detective work, because I feel like if it's good, if I'm compelled to do it, at least I can market that, and obviously I'm good at it. So, and there's a need for it suddenly, and I feel like I can actually, like, since I'm going to be so enthralled in it, at least I'm going to be able to monetize it. It's my new shit, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it seems risky.
You could be the first.
Yep. So I'm going to pick hunting serial killers because it's 2020. Princesses can rescue themselves. Like, I'm a feminist at heart, so I'm like, rescue yourself. But I'm going to hunt down serial killers, and plot twist, I'm the new Dexter.
Oh.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they're not going to jail. they're not going to make it to trial.
Yeah. As long as you capture them, do whatever you want.
You're compelled to capture them. Like, you put your hands on them, you feel the Dijin magic, and you're like, mission complete. You're dead, dog.
Yep. That's right. Only, if you surrender now,
Judge
life in
Haspil.
an ISO cube. If you surrender now, life in an ISO cube. That's it.
Yeah.
Everybody always runs. Oh no, wait. You're Dread. Never mind.
What about
Right?
you?
That's Dread. Yeah, that's Dread.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of torn. They both they're kind of.
Your life's over, dog. Like, so you just have to accept that.
Yep.
I feel like the princess thing could go badly, like just in general. So I think I'm going to do the serial killer thing.
Makes the most sense. What are your reasons?
I feel like that's strangely more predictable.
Yeah.
Yep.
The djinn will flip it on you. And
Yeah, probably.
It's going after princesses.
Yeah,
Double whammy.
Of course. Of course. And serial killer hunting, that's so since we're all going to be serial killer hunters in this new reality, like, I guess we should team up.
Yep.
Yeah, like Supernatural. See, I knew it was happening.
Like, we'll have like a cool ass like muscle car. We'll have Rob will be like at HQ doing all the tactical logistics since he can't go out in the sun, and there's going to be need for us to be out in the sun sometimes.
He's the radio guy.
Yeah.
He's the guy on the radio.
Haspil obviously is like a guy who judges these. So I feel like I drive the car, and Haspil gets out and fills these dudes full of crossbow bolts, because for some reason in my fiction we have crossbows.
Yeah, I mean, all good Inquisitors do.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep. I'm happy with this scenario. Kind of want it to happen now.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, Rob?
There's actually a lot of content coming out. Like, I was concerned this month for, like new 40K releases, because I was like, you could shoehorn those expansion books in some terrain, which they ended up doing. It'll actually release on the 3rd of October, but whatever. It still goes on pre-order this weekend. So the new tactical deployment mission pack and the Crusade Beyond the Veil Crusade mission pack both go on sale this weekend. They're $40 US, and it looks like they're very similar to the Chapter Approved 2020 kind of fold out, spiral bound, the little elastic binder thing. And I'm sure we're going to talk more about the deployment mission pack later. They're also coming out with a pack of data cards for them. So like for the terrain pieces, you probably saw like the example one on Warhammer Community. Those are actual cards that they're releasing, little data cards. Can't really tell the size, but the pack is going to be $25. And I guess we'll know exactly how many are going to come in there this weekend when they put them up on pre-order. And then they're re-releasing some terrain sets, making new terrain sets, and coming out with a combined box terrain set, which is kind of interesting. We'll have a value post probably out tomorrow on Spiky Bits about it, but it's like one of those things where they sneak in like an extra sprue, or they don't give you the half of some sprue, and you're like, well, how do you value half a kit? You know, it's like the universal question. Like, if Techless is 2 sprues, does that make one sprue $85? Like, I don't know. You know, it's like one of those things. So the Munitorium armored containers are re-releasing for $55.
Oh, the box. I forgot. That was a goddamn.
Huzzah.
That was pre. Everyone had toughness. That was armor value. Remember? That was before the new edition when we were on this podcast hatching fictional toughness rules, and how and under the Dreadnought flag of like make Dreadnoughts monstrous creatures, we even did battle reports to prove that it works perfectly to take away armor value. And then they come out with this fucking box, armored box that had a toughness value.
Yep.
I was highly triggered for like.
It was very different when they did it. It was like, wait, what?
My feelings got hurt big time.
So, you know, that's definitely one thing. What was the other thing? Yes, they're coming out with a new kit. It's called the Sanctum Administratus, and that's $80. But apparently, it's a 3-story building. It's kind of how they're billing it. So a little bit different. 3-story building.
Might have to pick that one up.
I mean, obviously, it's only $80.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get 2 or 3.
At least.
That
then
price.
you can. Yeah. I mean, and then you might as well buy the bundle terrain set, the Vertigus, for $150. So then you'll be able to have like a full table.
And then combine them into Constructicon.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah, you get it.
Constructicon is that Devastator?
Yeah.
Isn't he
At
like,
least one of them.
Oh, isn't he like the strongest of all Decepticons?
Allegedly. Then there's a new box. It's not really new. It's called the Sub Cloister and Storage Fane. Anybody? No?
Is there something there?
I don't know. Last time we was like thermoplasmic, galvanic. It's like, oh, I got one of those. Storage Fane.
I think I have like naming GW scheme a saturation now. Like I'm just like, yeah. It's honestly it's kind of boring.
Well,
honestly.
Fane is like an altar of some kind.
Well, the storage Fane is that piece of terrain data card they showed off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what is this then, Rob?
That is the one. What was it?
So the thing you just announced, it's a box. What is it?
Yeah, it's two ruin pieces, but one of the ruins is the one that they showed in that card. That
how much is it?
It's $60,
and it comes with exactly what you need to make the Thane and something else.
Yes.
Okay, hold on a second. I did not know that. Thank you for saying that.
I did not either. But
That's
$60 for a very small ruin.
But it's for 2. See, that puts it at like $30.
It's for 2, but we don't know what the other one is.
See, remember earlier today we met. Okay, I'll save it.
I'll look
It's
up some
the-
pricing before we get there.
Engine Shed. It's the Engine Shed. It's one.
Which has probably got a card that we haven't seen yet. Okay, Rob, sorry. That's the last one.
Yeah, the other one's probably got a card. But the good thing about this Sub Cloister and Storage Fane is that you get 2 complete Sub Cloister and Storage Fanes in the Vertigus box, which is $150. So, and it gets weird because then you also there's the pipes and the little cement mixer thing.
So the other box is basically 4 plus stuff for $150. This is 2 for $60.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you can get the Battlezone Command Edition that comes with the sub-cloister fane and the new pipes and the new cement mixer thing for $90.
So like 3 of them. So they're valuing these little sets at about $30
ish if you bundle them together. Or this engine shed also comes in the command edition of the new starter, along with the whole sub-cloister and storage fane come in that.
God damn it, Rob! I always forget how good you are at your job. Thank you. So much information.
They're out there. They're just bundled everywhere. Mm-hmm. But, a year from now, you won't be able to find any of them because that's what they do. But right now, they're like, let's repackage it and resell it. So I don't know if buying it off the shelf for $60 is value when you can get it in all those other bundles for just a little bit more, but you get more. Just like Haspil said, you might as well buy 3 and then combine them together and you're fine. And then the Manufactorum Conservators, which is the little tractors and things that can move around the storage crates, the boxes. And I think in one of the rules previews for Crusade or something else that isn't match play, you could actually grab one of the boxes and turn the tractor on and like start moving it across the table to like give your guy cover or whatever they were saying. I was like, huh. How cool would it be to like...
So now we're boomers with train sets?
You could have a Leviathan Dreadnought and you like start up the little train, like the Leviathans like walking across the table. That's just silly. I like the thematic of it in my mind, but I'm just like, that's just silly.
It is.
Okay, thank you. From Forge Roll, they teased that the Warlord Quake Cannon would go on pre-order for the full-scale Warlord Titan that, if you're watching live, is behind my left shoulder. They will have a Quake Cannon version for its arm weapon, which is the top carapace weapon for the Warbringer Titan, which is bigger than a Reaver but smaller than a Warlord. So they re-engineered it, made it ventral mount, so that it slings under the arm cavity there. And also the Warbringer, that's the one with the big Quake Cannon, or Peen Cannon, as some like to call it. Is
that a take joke?
With a little bit, yeah. It's got a big gun on his back. Or Blastoise. We'll call him Blastoise. How's that? Is that better? That one will get a War Volcano Cannon for his arm and also a new headset, which actually looks pretty good. So you get the head and the 2 heraldry pads that go on the shoulders. So no idea how much they're going to be because they're not actually listed yet. But by the time this podcast is out, they will be up for sale, which is dope. So those are all the G-Dub stuff. Now I wanted to talk about a few other things. We were talking about Bandai figures in the pre-show. Wyatt brought up that the Bandai Premium site, which is kind of like the Hasbro Pulse, sort of everybody's got their premium. Wizards of the Coast is doing it now too, but everybody has their premium site where you can get the stuff. They actually put those figures, the GW Bandai figures, the Salamander and the Imperial Fist, over on the Bandai Premium site. Same price, $100 I checked. But
yes,
tell them why maybe you should order from there, Wyatt.
Oh yeah. So the reason that I brought this up is I've ordered a bunch of stuff from Bandai before with the Gundam models and all that. And if you want one of these Marines, there's only so many that North America is going to get allocated through Games Workshop retailers, right? Because there's only so many they're going to produce. And last time we had this with the Ultramarine guy, there was a lot of problems where the website was the GW ordering website was laggy, as it always is on big pre-order days. Like if you don't get in like right when you get in, then like that stuff is going to sell out before you can even log into the web store. We had issues with like if you're at a Games Workshop store, you don't do anything through the cash register other than pay for your order. Everything is done on the little online computer kiosk they have in there. So you're basically just ordering off of the web store anyways, which can be problems. And also when they shipped everything, it took way longer to get everything to everybody because Bandai like shipped to Games Workshop's warehouse and then they divided everything up and shipped it out. And as Rob can attest, people got duplicates that they didn't order. And then Games Workshop had to be like, sorry, we kind of fucked up. Can you send that back? Because people didn't get theirs. And of course, the people who got one for free were like, no, like, this is, finders keepers. So I think for a better buying experience and to make sure that you get one and get one on time, even though this is a year-long fulfillment, just like the last one, you should probably buy it direct from Bandai on their premium store, because it's just going to ship directly from them to you when that stuff gets fulfilled and takes out the middleman.
It almost seems like they had a little talk, and there was some bottlenecking issues, and this was an obvious solution to that.
Yeah, and I think it's a good idea. I'm still on the fence whether I'm going to order them or not, but I don't know.
Well, I got mine, and it's painted. I'm sure people who are diehard Imperial Fists or Salamanders fans, like, they want theirs, and that's dope because the Salamanders one is really cool and the Imperial Fist one is super dope. So, like, more power to you. But I would also say, like, a lot of people were super hyped for these because they wanted to get them and then, like, repaint it. And I can tell you from experience, doing that is not nearly as easy as you would think because of the manufacturing process, the type of plastic they used. The type of plastic they use for those kits doesn't work great with the paints that we're used to as miniatures painters, the water-based paints. So what'll happen is you'll try to airbrush on there, and that paint will just bead up, like on a nonstick skillet. That's what'll happen. So you have to use lacquer-based paints or enamel-based paints, and not everybody wants to get into those because you have to wear a mask. They're chemically thinned. You need to use an airbrush, or it looks terrible, like that kind of thing, right? So what I suggest is you actually get the unpainted one from McFarlane Toys, which is going to be out here in about a week. You can order those on Amazon right now, and those are specifically made with an unpainted, like, primered version. Yep. So that when you get your guy, and you can paint them however the hell you want to with all of the paints that you have right on your desk. And they're smaller, like they're not like action figure, like a G.I. Joe size, but they're kind of in between the big boy. They're about this big.
So about 8 inches, give or take.
Yeah.
Here's the Spawn figure. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually want to talk about it. And we've seen the packaging for it because apparently Walmart's also getting them.
Oh, cool.
Somebody snapped some pics of them at Walmart, and the packaging looks fresh AF. So here's the weird thing. And I wanted to bring up this McFarlane thing, and I'm glad you did. You can pre-order them right now from Amazon, all 3 figures. You can't get them as a bundle. There are some bundles listed, but I think that's a secondary seller. Don't buy those because they're more expensive. They're over on Amazon. They are shipping on Wednesday, the 30th, and they are set to arrive the 2nd of October. But GW put out a post, and they're like, hey, we're going to have these for pre-order October 10th. And I'm like, wait, what?
So there's got to be like some backroom, like, arrangements, like, whoever is manufacturing the toys may have, like, the first dibs on pre-sales or something. So, I mean, like, if you have to give your money directly to GW, you can wait, I guess, or you can just get it on Amazon. Like, they're still in stock. You can pre-order them right now and get it next week.
It's through McFarlane directly. So
and they're $20, $19.99. As
of right now, they're at $20. It's a pretty good value.
Pretty good deal. I'm looking forward to it because this one I can actually paint on. We do it on stream, maybe some YouTube stuff. And I got the pre-painted one too, just because he's cool.
If you're looking for the one you can paint yourself, it's called Artist Proof. Yeah. So do a search for that, and you'll pull it up pretty quick. I did want to talk about Hero Quest. I know Haspil has a lot more to talk about, but it is funded. Check it out. There's 2 versions, $99 or $149. It funded about a day. So you've got roughly 43 days to scoop yours up if you're interested in that, if it's nostalgic. Just some quick numbers. At $1 million sold, assuming they were all the $99 version, that's 10,000 copies of Hero Quest. But it's more. So they probably sold at least 10,000 copies, right? As of right now. Kind of crazy. John Patrick sent this in. I don't know if he's watching on Thursday nights, but he sent me a link for the most ridiculous dice in the history of ever. They're actually made out of poop. They're called moose poop dice. And there's a whole explanation of why these dice are so good and why you got to have them. Obviously, they didn't just like take poop. And
I just bought them.
It's,
You sold me.
That's it. They are a little expensive, Kenny. That one D20 is about $43.
I just bought 40. I just bought 40 of them. Like they're made of poop. I need them.
They're made of poop. I gotta have them. We'll have a post out on Spiky Bits soon because why not? They're made of poo. It's funny. I love it. Also, Armada is a new game that I can't believe I talked about that. Armada's out from Mantic, and Mantic took the rule set from Warlord, or licensed it. They didn't take it for Black Seas, which is a great game in and of itself. Seen it played a lot. Looks pretty cool. So they're putting out starters for this game called Armada, which it's basically naval ship combat.
It looks dope.
It looks pretty dope. There's a 2-player starter set. It's $99. 8 ships. You get the mat, the rule book, some measuring devices, dice not made of poop, and they're up for pre-order right now. So they announced it 2 weeks ago, a week ago, and now it's all up for pre-order. And there's different bundles and things and extra ships and all that sort of stuff that you can buy. But it's all up there right now. So make sure you check that out if you want a different type of skirmish game. We talked about that in the pre-show a little bit.
Yeah.
That is all the main stuff I have. I did want to weigh in on the BattleScribe kerfuffle from last week a little bit. So what happened last week? You may have seen some weird posts go out, some weird Facebook things. What happened was I woke up in the morning. I wake up pretty early to get to work. And I noticed a lot of people were like, oh my God, BattleScribe's been taken down. You know, what's going on? And going through my feed and I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Let's check it out. So, I go in and I do my work, sourcing it. All right, what's going on? Let me go check BattleScribe. All right. Interesting. All right, let me go over here and see what's going on with their files. So what happened was that they, and I want to make sure I make this point because I might mix it up later in the story. There's BattleScribe, the person that designed BattleScribe, right? I think his name's John. And he made a program that's great and people buy it. It all works. But then there's individual people that do the data files, right? So there's different Facebook accounts. There's different social media accounts for BattleScribe data and BattleScribe, right? So I don't know any of these BattleScribe data guys, whatever, fine. So everything when I say BattleScribe, I'm talking about BattleScribe data guys. So what happened was that the BattleScribe data guys did an update for Warhammer 40K files. And they thought it would be funny if they named the update, the name of the update, the version of the update, whatever you want to call it. They named it the following. They called it DMCA letter received, right, as the update, which by itself, you could be like, haha, funny, that's a joke. Okay, cool. But by naming it that and naming the set of data files, which were Warhammer 40,000, that it went out on their social media as the following: Warhammer 40,000, DMCA letter received. So on their Twitter account and their Facebook account, it said exactly that with a link. And remember, all this is automated. So they might not even realize that it did that, right? That's what's posted up on their social medias. And then people are freaking out like, hey, what's going on?
Didn't it say something like "so long and thanks for all the fish" or something?
Yes, and they did mention the "so long and thanks for the fish," Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I'm sure anybody who's used BattleScribe for any amount of time knows that the updates can have some funny naming conventions from time to time, which is cool. Like, I understand any way to make mindless data entry more fun. I totally understand. But at the same time, when you are putting out something that is that inflammatory on your official business page for this app that you curate, that's pretty bad. That's really bad. That's not a joke that you make on an official page like that,
Well, yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, again, I'm not dumb, and you always know what's best for your business in your mind. So maybe they thought that was best at the time. That's great. The problem and the other unfortunate circumstance was that when that update went out, all the data files came down off their server. So if you went and looked to be like, or they did it on purpose, I don't know. So if you went and looked to actually find the data files, whether it was in the app or on their website, they weren't there.
That sounds like a practical joke, like straight up. Like that doesn't sound like I mean, the fact that they went with the joke a little hard on Twitter, for so long thanks to the fish, and like, bro, I would have absolutely been like, no, BattleScribe.
And people were.
Like I would have, if I saw that happening in real time, I would have fucking gotten really concerned that my favorite thing that I do related to 40K, which is lay in bed and high score on fucking BattleScribe, is gone. I would have freaked the fuck out.
And I think the timing is just poor too, with, the 40K app out there and, you just don't, it's very unpredictable time with that. Nobody knows what's going on with it, if it's actually going to ever work. I'm sure they're working on it. I hope it does. But I just think it was very bad. And so they made a correction, and the correction was on their Discord server. And I'm just going to throw this out there and say, Discord is not an official social media source. If you need to correct a social media post or something you did, don't do it in a Discord server that requires invites. And I'm going to be honest with you, not a lot of people know what Discord is, I feel like, at this point in time still. So don't do that, and don't act like, hey, we just threw all this out here.
Yeah, if you're like over 30, you probably were forced into Discord because of necessity.
There's probably some truth to that. So there was an official statement made eventually. The files came back eventually after we published the article, at which time we went back, edited the article to say the following. Editor's note, it looks like BattleScribe data updated their files, parentheses, poorly, with a fake DMCA takedown title, which at face value, as posted to their socials, look legitimate. To be fair, their updates seem to be automated by DLVR, which is deliberate. It's a RSS automation. So they may have not meant for it to go out to their socials or appear as the following title, Warhammer 40,000 DMCA letter received in the title. At the time, as indicated in this article, the 9th edition files were also missing from their database, which led to this report. Then I concluded it with 9th edition for 40K data files. I'm back for download here and link to it. The original article is below, because let me be real with you guys. I don't take stuff down off Spiky Bits. I keep it up there. Like if something needs to be corrected, I'm going to put an editor's note and I'm going to correct it. And even in the title, I even put BattleScribe copyright notice updated. Right. So,
oh, you mean like journalism ethics? You get something wrong, you write a retraction?
Rob's not a journalist. Watch it. He's just a super responsible person.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do the right things out there and trying to, if you do something wrong, just correct it and say you're sorry. It's that simple. It's life.
I wish everybody would do that.
So the interesting part to all this is that Games Workshop actually contacted me about the article very shortly after it went out, and they're like, man. Hey.
Your nemesis,
Rob, hold on. Did they? I don't know much, but like it seems like this type of thing that occurred, this practical joke, as I will call it, probably brought a lot of hate over to GW for
easily,
right? Like a lot of like complete anger.
Oh, for sure. Like there was a number of posts where like immediately their reaction was, hey, let's like dogpile GW social media accounts and tell them to like eat a bag of
some Spartacus level onboarding here, fucking destroying them. So they reached out to you probably because they're like, yo. So tell us about that.
Yeah, they just reached out and they're like, hey, that was probably a prank. And I was like, yes, it's become obvious that there was some confusion there, and we've updated the post. And I actually made a second post where I completely explained the whole situation and that the files were still there. They just did a really bad update, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, okay, cool. Thank you. Would you mind updating the title? It's a little inflammatory. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to update the title too. Actually, it had already been done at that point. The caching takes 20, 30 minutes to sometimes clear out. I was like, yeah, it should be fine in like 20, 30 minutes. But here's the thing. Whenever you put things out on RSS, just like with the BattleScribe guys, you can't change an RSS feed. It's already out there. It's already gone out. So I had to actually go out to Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr, and I can't even remember, like 4 different things. And I had to actually remove those posts because they were wrong. And it's just, there's no point to being out there with incorrect information on it. So I actually deleted them, which is how I feel like BattleScribe should have, or the data guys should have gone out to their social medias and deleted that instead of just making a statement in their Discord server. But at least they said something. So, when things like this happen, that's how we handle them. Like, if we're wrong, we're wrong. We're going to update it. The post.
Oh, and I also bet people came after you.
Yeah, a few were like, spiky bits.
As I think about it, I'm like, I bet they also, yes. Because then when they started realizing it was a joke.
Right. They're like, you're stupid. This is a joke. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now you're the expert on.
Okay. So
yes. Like I've been following the story since 4 a.m.
So, so then you get like these hate. So like the initial hate spike goes to GW, enforce, like, you guys are assholes. BattleScribe's amazing. And then when it's like a joke, then they're like, Rob Baer is a fucking asshole. He's over here making everyone think that it was GW. All right.
Yeah. Oh, you gotta remember,
calm the fuck down, people.
The mean average IQ of people in America is like under 100. So, I see tons of really, really stupid people post on Spiky Bits all the time.
I'm not gonna lie. I have to avoid scrolling into the comments sometimes because I always get confused by the fact that the default thumbnail is Rob's logo. So I always think it's like Rob. And I'm like, yeah. Oh my God, Rob, what are you doing, bro? Because you know what I mean? Like if you don't set up an avatar when you go into comments, it's like the Spiky Bits logo. In your comments?
Yeah.
So I see that and I just assume it's you posting. And then I get super triggered because like, Rob, why would you say that? That's insane. And then I realize it's these insane people.
Oh, yeah.
Saying these crazy fucking things. And it's like, God damn it, dude. Just. Well, lesson learned.
We try to police things as much as we can. And we actually, employ some folks to do that. But at the end of the day, it's not worth keeping things up when they're just wrong. And, that's the way it is. So that was what happened. The BattleScribe data guys did reach out to me. They wanted to have a discussion about it. I was like, guys, there's really nothing to discuss, but thank you for contacting me. And there it is. So if you saw a bunch of confusion last Friday, I apologize for that. Like, we did the best we could with the information we had at hand, and we edited it as the situation unfolded. So, which we'll continue to do on all our posts if we need to adjust things.
That is an emotional roller coaster, Rob. I'm sorry that fucking day was that stressful for you.
Yeah.
It was an interesting day for sure, but it is what it is. I guess part of the job
hopefully
sometimes.
in the future, the people running that BattleScribe stuff will be more professional.
Look, I know what it's like to write some dumbass. I save a lot of thumbnails with dumb names. Rob knows. Because I set up the thumbnails. And so, but that's not the title of a post. Don't do that, guys. And then don't lean into it when you see you made that mistake and make it a fucking joke. Go in there.
I think if everybody isn't
that a form of gaslighting where it's like you can say whatever you want, and if it hits, then it's cool. But if it doesn't hit, you can just be like, "Oh, it's just a joke. Why are you getting so mad?"
Yeah.
Like, it's called gaslighting.
Yeah, I think, and piling on too. Like, three of these guys. Yeah. Let's just keep it going. Like, no.
Somebody in chat said like every comment you read on an article like that, like, will lower your IQ by 1. I'm barely in there, guys. I'm barely hanging on.
Yeah.
I can only spare maybe 2 more. Rob, thanks for taking me down that journey, man. I appreciate you catching me up.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for listening, everybody. That's all I got. Go buy poop dice. Go buy poop dice. Having said that, time for the legendary Haspil's Corner.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot right now. I did want to talk about this t-shirt company called militarumissue.com. And folks who are listening can't see that I'm wearing this epic Catechins t-shirt.
Nice.
Paint them a words. It's a OD green t-shirt with some OG Codex Catechin artwork on it.
Yeah.
It says Catechins, Jungle Fighters in the G.I. Joe style, almost like a comic book.
It's very cool shirt. They have a ton of other ones. They have like Legion tees, Saint Celestine.
I looked on there. They have the original Marnius Calgar from Rogue Trader, like sitting on his like squatty potty throne with his like pair of Velociraptors. I have to buy that. I have to buy that shirt now.
It is a really, really cool site. If you want to see some licensed GWTs, and the shirts are not ridiculously expensive. They're about $20. They fit well. They're well-made shirts. I'm going to buy a ton more. The fun side story to that is that I ordered a bunch of these shirts, and then when they came from a company called Katet19.com. And so I didn't know what they were. I was just like, what is this? But Katet is a thing from Stephen King's The Dark Tower. And so is 19. That's like one of the big like recurring numbers that happens throughout The Dark Tower. So I went onto the Katet 19 thing, and they have epic shirts that have to do with Stephen King IPs. And the one that I need to get is like, it's like Dumachum Data Chick or whatever. Oh yeah. And it's a Lobstrosity t-shirt, but it looks like a Bubba Gump shrimp kind of shirt.
That's so ridiculous.
So, yeah, it's fantastic. So check out those if you want. And then we're going to talk about, and I can't do it, I wish I could, channel, Bardic Broadcast and talk about the best thing about Hero Quest is the Barbarian. Look at the muscularity. But I can't keep it up. But yeah, Hero Quest is a fantastic game. I think it came out in like 1989. So it's hitting us right in the middle of the nostalgia, just right. It's a gut punch to the nostalgia organ right there. They have 2 tiers, heroic and mythic tiers. Be aware, however. So I got the mythic tier, which was $149. By the time I was done with shipping and tax, it was like close to $200. Just be aware, because I got a little bit of sticker shock at the end when I was like, wait, how much for shipping? How much for taxes? Holy smokes, So just be aware that there's going to be a lot of stuff there. They're doing some really, really cool things. You get, of course, the 4 main characters, Barbarian, Dwarf, Elf, and Wizard. And then they're also including, if you get it on the Pulse, gender swapped versions of those characters. So instead of, you now get a female barbarian, dwarf, wizard, and a male elf. So you can play whichever one you want. Of course, it doesn't affect the game at all. The sculpts look fantastic. Like when I first saw it, Rob sent me the stuff on there. I was like, wow, the gargoyle looks the same. It actually doesn't look the same, but it has the exact same feel of the original gargoyle. So it's more detailed, but when you look at it, you're like, that's the gargoyle from Hero Quest. Like there's no question of what it is. It is really, really cool that they did all this stuff. All the old cardboard furniture is reissued in full 3D sculpts. This is going to be a really, really neat game. Not just for nostalgia, but to get, younger players into it again. And it's kind of a D&D-esque system. Comes with cards, comes with like a game master that plays it. And to be very, very honest, I don't actually remember what it was like playing Hero Quest. I remember that it was a lot of fun, but this was a time in my life where I was still in high school. We were playing a lot of Blood Bowl and Space Hulk and Hero Quest. And we got Hero Quest, and it was a board game, and it was a lot of fun, and it was very D&D-esque. And what I love about this Hasbro version is that everything's been updated, but everything is the same. It's kind of really hard to explain.
Well, they sort of took the GW out of it. The old red period, or I guess pre-red period, the old like kind of dread feel, I guess. Like they seem more, you know what I'm saying? Like in the design, like of the bad guy, like the chaos dudes, they were chaos warriors.
Yeah,
like,
they were chaos warriors. They're not chaos warriors anymore. They're and like the orcs aren't. Well, but the skeletons and the dread warriors were there before. It's just, the orcs look, The goblins look more goblin-y. Yeah. But I love that they kept the artwork. It's different artwork, but it's the same
updated.
artwork.
Yeah.
It's like they took the same artwork and just updated it.
They made it 4K.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to it, and I'm glad I picked up a copy. If you're feeling the nostalgia, it's kind of cool. It's already funded, so there's very little risk there. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be kind of cool.
It's gonna be hype. I love that now you have all the characters and gender swaps. You have them all painted. Have all your awesome pieces looking the sickest, and when people come over, it's like, pick your character, man.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
That's just,
and that was the cool thing about Hero Quest. When I did play it, was that it was it was like, hey, we want to play D&D, but we don't have the time to play like a full on D&D thing. So you can bust out Hero Quest and you can play that in a session. And that's what was really cool about it.
Truth. Time. We talked about that in the pregame show, actually. Time management, gaming per hour. Like it's one of the perfect games. I've seen it played, never played it myself. I'm not as old as Rob. Not even close to as old as Haspil, but sorry, I'm being real ageist tonight. I apologize. I'm not really that sorry. Anyway, Mike, that t-shirt is popping in chat. People are like, yo, I need this shit.
It is a really, really cool shirt. And it was one of those that I wasn't going to buy. Like, I was just going through their thing, and their Grey Knight shirt is awesome because I was saying it reminded me of like a 90s metal band called Grey Knights. Like, it looks really, really cool.
Militarum issue. That's what you guys got to be Googling.
And then when I saw this Catacomb shirt, I was just like, have to get it. Have to.
Oh yeah, it's like as soon as I saw that they had the Rogue Trader Marnius Calgar, I was like, yes, I need this. I need this in my life.
Yeah.
Fucking hype. All right, so
I found a cool little hobby aid if anybody wants to get some game aids.
I'm all about game aids.
Yeah, I know Rob, he's chock full of game aids.
I like to in and around my mouth.
Yeah. So for anybody watching, you can see that I have this little book here. This is called the Pocket Compendium. And I found this on Amazon for like $12. It's a super cool little product because it is basically like a little pocket-sized faux leather book with some cool texture on it. The one that I bought is the Tome of Corruption, and it looks like a little Necronomicon with like a face on there. And it's just full of like card sleeves that are all bound in the leather booklet. And it also comes with a deck of blank cards. Like, they're all playing card size. The ones that come with the Tome of Corruption are like flayed skin looking, double backed blank playing cards. And it's just a thing that's marketed towards like D&D, things like that, where you can write down custom items or spell cards, things like that. But I'm using it to help out with playing Warhammer. So you can write down stratagems, you can write down psychic powers, you can like throw those out on the table, all sorts of other little deals just to keep track of it. And the reason I'm doing this is because we're about to get a whole new round of codexes, which means we're about to get a whole new round of stratagem cards. So I would rather just write out some of my existing stratagems, post all the FAQs, blah, blah, blah. And then next month when that stuff comes out, I can just get the new cards and put them in there because it does fit any like normal card size playing card type thing in the sleeves. And it's also pretty cool because, well, the one thing I don't like about the stratagem cards is those boxes they have them in, those like cardboard card boxes that deteriorate really fast, and they're kind of clunky to keep in a bag and stuff like that. So having a little nice compact pocket notepad thing or notebook thing where you can sleeve all your cards, and it's also kind of thematic. So they have like different versions. I got like the evil version for my Chaos Army, little Necronomicon.
What's the name of the company?
So on Amazon, it says E Brands, like capital E dash brands. but I'm not sure if that's the people who make it or it's just the Amazon. No, it's a brand Stratagem, ironically.
Brand Stratagem. Pocket Compendium.
And they have, it looks like 4 or 5 different versions. Like some of them are more like wizardy, more sorcery. Like they have ones where all of the playing cards look like unrolled scrolls of parchment, that kind of thing. Really, pretty cool little organizational tool that looks neato. You can have the table.
Good find, man. I might have to get one too for my Chaos Army. Very Death Guardy, very Nurgly. So, last thing to talk about tonight, because we covered the crazy BattleScribe journey, which was a big event that occurred. And here we are on a Thursday night getting to talk about something that just happened. Is GW put out in Warhammer community some previews of what these new bring your own terrain rules might look like. I think we talked about this. How long ago did they say this was going to happen, Rob?
The books would come out.
Yeah, there was going to be this terrain element where you bring your own terrain.
Yeah, I think that was their preview. It was a month ago. It was the 23rd of August, I think.
Right, and then you were talking about it, and alarm bells immediately went off. Where you were like, "Oh, you can build your own terrain and bring it and play it in turn." I was like, "Ooh, ah."
I mean, the community got pretty triggered by that preview, but it's like kind of like it's old news, right? Like the community kind of talked about it. A lot of things were brought up, and then it kind of settled down, and then now we got this preview, and again, there were some pretty big articles out there this week, some pretty triggered people on the internet, and
quite a few.
Rob and Wyatt and I talked about it earlier today on our taxes discussion. We went on a journey, and we didn't have this information to see. Like earlier when you brought up that they were bundling these little terrain boxes, right? Like $60, and what's the name of the one that they previewed, Wyatt?
The Storage Fane.
Storage Fane. So we talked about that endlessly, and like how there's a picture of it, there's rules for it. They told us about this new currency, which would scale with the size of the game, which would be your terrain points, and you could spend them on. And we're like, yo, this smacks of, maybe like it was sounding real customizable. But then the more we dove into it, it's like, no, there's going to be a set of them. You can buy them. They're going to do these new cool things. Is it going to be super gamey? Are we going to be able to take an Amazon box and make our own gigantic one? Because technically they don't tell us what size it is. They just kind of show you some Marines for scale. We went on this huge journey, right? Which I think is all irrelevant now, Wyatt, because one of our scenarios that we outlined was the only way this would work is if you had to use a GW official one. Then we were like, but bro, you got to buy the boxes. Then you got to grab those pieces out of the box and make it. And it's like, they're never going to bundle them. And then suddenly Rob's like, yeah, but they are. And we speculated, wouldn't it be like $35? And I would just buy one of these things feeling good.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. So I would still say that a lot of that still kind of stands because this whole thing is kind of predicated on you have to buy the Games Workshop terrain if you want this to work without people taking advantage of it, right? Because it is rife for that, right? And I mean, this is a permissive rule set, so unless something says that you can do it, that doesn't mean that you can't. It's not like
because it doesn't say I can't doesn't mean I can,
right? And there's lots and lots of potholes in the rule set around that as well, which is why we have so many at the table discussions with judges about like how certain things work, right? The age-old rules as written versus rules as intended. And this is another example of, what is the intent? Because this really only works if you have physically the GW Storage Fane building model kit. Otherwise, it's like you can basically find any piece of terrain and label it as a Storage Fane rule set piece of terrain, which is rife for people taking advantage of it, right? And I would also say that some of our other previous points still stand because I was just looking around, and if we're saying that this little small, basically it's a small L shape with a rectangular footprint that is about 6 inches tall, about 4 or 5 inches long at its most longer point. About $30, correct? That's what we said.
Yeah, you can buy 2 of them for 60. So it seems like the value is
about $30. So if we look at some of our other big sellers, right? I know there's like 1,000,001 terrain sellers out there. I'm just picking the 2 like kind of primary ones that we see a lot. Mostly frontline. Lot of frontline terrain sets out there in the 40K event scene. So I'm just looking at a small terrain piece, like the ITC terrain series industrial pump jack, right? It's kind of I'd say similar size, with a pump jack on it. This is going to work great in the 9th edition rule set because it's taller than 5 inches. So you can give it obscuring. Got a little bunker type office building, like an engine building that you can fit like a small squad of infantry in there. I think it has a footprint of about 7 by 4, 6 by 5, like rectangular footprint. If I remember the last time I saw one in person, it's $15. And so you're getting more,
but it's also made of wood, like wood with no texture.
Well, I mean, if you care about like the teeny tiny little details on a piece of terrain.
I mean, everything that I'm going to pay for my army, I do. Absolutely. I'm not going to, for my army, on my art display board, have a piece of MDF like next to all my dope shit. So like $15. Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, you could look at it. I'm looking at it more like if this is a thing that happens and we have to bring our own terrain, then I don't want to spend GW prices on terrain. That's where I'm looking at it from. And so I can basically get twice the amount of terrain for the same cost as GW.
Yeah, but that's setting alarm bells off for me, because if you go, hey, we're going to do this terrain thing. Let's hypothetically think that people are actually going to use these rules.
Right.
And you're not going to use a GW piece of terrain.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Then that I've been on the receiving end of people having Castle Grayskull as a shield.
And aquarium.
I know.
Terrain.
I'm aware. This is why I'm.
So
yeah, that's why we started with this does not work. It's impossible for this to work without using the GW terrain.
I will say this on paper. This is a perfectly benign idea that I think could work in small, intimate settings. Like we're talking, like I'm a TO at my local game castle. We're doing the October, like 15 to 20 guy RTT, and we're going to do this thing where like everybody brings a couple of pieces of terrain. So that way we make sure that the store or the event has enough terrain for everybody and it has some rules on there, right? I can manage like 1 or 2 people. You can manage that. You can be like, guy, come on. You can't bring Castle Grayskull for 40 of your terrain points when it's supposed to be this tiny little thing, right? Or even something that's it's not like egregiously taking advantage of it, but just taking advantage of it enough to give them that, like, you'll never be able to kill my star unit that is going to break out of this terrain piece on my turn and like fuck your shit up. That type of like gotcha bitch gaming that nobody likes, right? Like I can manage that as a 1 or 2 man team TO at a small event like that. The bigger you get, the more and more impossible it becomes to police that. Where like if I have 200 tables with only like 10 guys as judges that are constantly going around monitoring things on top of all of the other duties of TOs and judges, like working on scores, working on placements, trying to fix problems with like the BCP if somebody entered their name incorrectly or some other dumb shit, like then you're going to have a lot of people that are going to game the system and get away with it and lots of player feel bads. Because if this was just like bring terrain for these cool missions that call for specific shapes of terrain, that would be a little bit of a different story. But what bothers me about this whole thing is it's like these pieces of terrain give your army buffs and you don't buy it in your army list, right? You have this whole other side of points called terrain points that scales with the size of the battle. And then you get into the very clunky thing of like player plays terrain. And then you have to explain like, oh, this is this piece of terrain with these rules. And this is this piece of terrain with these rules. And both players have to do that. And then you have to decide where everything goes. And it's a very, very time wasty, clunky pregame system.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Sorry, Kenny. How is this different than me bringing a plasma obliterator.
Exactly. Thank you, Haspil.
Oh, is that a fortification?
I'd like to expand on that for a second.
The difference is that you pay for that in your list, and it's not on top of your full list.
Yeah, so that is...
I would say that it's like if we wanted to have 1850 for our army list, and then the remainder of those points up to 2,000 you can fill with terrain pieces, that's a different story for me. What I'm saying is I don't want people rolling up with 2,000 points of, can of whoop ass, and then an additional 400 to 500 points of dope terrain that's specifically picked out to buff all of the synergies of this meta army. That's a totally different story.
I respect your point on that, Wyatt. I happen now during the course of the show formulate the exact opposite opinion on this. Like, Plasma Obliterator is an offensive tool, but there's also the Imperial Bunker, which is almost exactly like the plasma thing that costs like 100 points, right? It's literally just a box. And so I actually really like this now. Now that I know that GW is actually are making these little things and they're committing to this, if they push this, it's going to be very similar to being like, yo, I have a Rhino in my army. You have to go fucking buy a Rhino to play it. Now there's exceptions to it, like dope ass conversions and everything, right? But people do that right now in tournaments, and they're trying to police it in real time. People are constantly trying to get away with things. That is still an active part of our game right now with models that aren't these. So that's always going to be a problem. So like, it's not like a new problem. It is a problem. If these are just like new units, like a new unit for my army, right? We don't play 2,000 points anymore. We play 2,150, but 150 of those points could only be spent on terrain. That's what I'm looking at. I'm not looking at like, hey man, these are free. No, we're playing 2,150, but it's a sidebar of terrain. Like, I actually really like it. All my problems with it have been completely removed. Like, I'm not nearly as concerned about it, right? I love the idea. It'll bring a little Thane. So I know that when I go to a tournament and I have this like one fucking little unit, I'm like, I just want this unit to do something, and it never gets to fucking do it. Hey, now it gets to do something. I like that. Now, what the buffs are for all the other, because this current piece we're looking at, it's basically an obscuring piece of terrain that also lets you guys
the engine shed.
Reroll one.
The storage. Yeah, you get to pick one unit that's fully within it, and during their shooting phase, they get to reroll ones to hit.
Yeah. Which one's that called?
The storage fane. It's the one data card they put in there.
That's the only one we know anything about right now. It's 40.
I'll read it word.
Actually, we know the engine shed too.
Okay. So this says, at the start of your shooting phase, you can select one unit that is wholly within this terrain feature until the end of the phase. Let's see. It says up to half of the models can throw grenades if they're equipped with them. In addition, each time a model that is wholly within this terrain feature makes a ranged attack, you roll a hit roll of 1.
Do we have the rules for the other one? Because in a game that's highly elite and highly DPS-y and highly, aggressive like this.
Yeah, and
everything
also
kills
we have
everything.
We have to think about too the changes coming where auras are changing. So now it's kind of like they're changing the game balance and taking away the, let's say, like I know that Terminators are going to be core because they said that, but let's just say they're not. So it's like, well, now this thing that was supposed to not have rerolls because they're not a core unit, all of a sudden does again. So it's like it kind of undoes that whole deal.
Yeah, no, for sure. And some people in chat disagree in some ways and agree with my point. Let me make one last comparison. Forge World.
Yeah.
People are hyper fucking vigilant about Forge World, right? When someone's like, I got this Forge World unit in my, and it's some shit you never heard of, and that's just whatever, and it's not the real model, nobody really gives a shit, right? But it happens to be the new hotness, like Chaplain Dreadnought at LVO this year. It got to a position that it was clearly real fucking good.
Oh yeah,
that was a highly,
it's like you,
yeah, with 800 people playing, they policed it. They pulled motherfuckers off the table.
Oh yeah, because the judges were like, if you didn't send us a picture of your Chaplain Dreadnought and it's not up to snuff, and you're clearly trying to just like eke by and power game this because you can't buy it anymore, then they were like, oh, you didn't.
You're down points, son. Keep playing. Like, pop it off the table. You're done. Like, it's like they did it successfully with like 800 or 700 people. Like, so when it's that hot and spicy and new and it's that potentially crazy, it's not impossible to police. I just want to give it a shot if all those things line up. If they don't line up, like how Wyatt started this whole thing, they don't line up, we're just not going to play it. I still believe there's a 99.999% chance it's not going to actually make the cut.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like the discussion has already happened.
Right. So, and Rob has the rules. I'm sorry, Rob.
I just wanted to say that there is another card. It was in a previous article. It's called the Engine Shed, and its abilities are at the start of your command phase, if any friendly infantry unit are within this terrain feature, you can select one vehicle model from your army that is wholly within this terrain feature to be repaired. That vehicle regains up to D3 lost wounds. It can only be repaired once per turn.
Well, how many terrain points is it?
60.
See, cool. Yeah. So that one does something even more unique, and it costs more. Okay, so there's.
Well, we don't know what terrain points are or do.
I mean, we don't know exactly how many we're gonna get, but they said 50 for like the lowest end, and 150 for the highest.
So for the onslaught, which is like what we would think of as like OG Apocalypse, 300 to 400 points each for like per player.
Right, but is that
right?
Do I get a 2,000 point army plus 150?
Yeah, terrain points is a totally separate currency. I mean, so in case people didn't figure this out, like this entire thing is we're just like discussing this from a game design, like an objectivity place. It's basically already come down from most TOs. That's like, no, we're not doing this. And somebody in the chat brought up a really great point. Like the whole idea of this is that the players themselves supply all of the terrain, right? So it's like this. So if Kenny and I are playing a Strike Force game, and let's just say it's 200 points of terrain because Onslaught is like 3 to 4. So let's just speculate that Strike Force is 200 points of terrain points per player, and we bring it. We decide what we want, we bring it. We're showing up to a table with no terrain on it. And only what we bring is what goes on the table. And from what we can see on this one mission type, I believe it says that certain terrain features have to go at a specific spot.
This will never be used in competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
And you thought the mustard phase was complicated.
This is good for like Friday night 40K, where you want to just play, or in your basement or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And we even talked about,
like I said, a small, like a 10 to 15 guy tournament where it's like, we just want to do a tournament, but.
I honestly could get 100% behind this if it was like, because other than the terrain points, to me, I don't see a very big difference between this and fortifications. I just don't. And some people were saying, now I got to travel, with my army, my books, all my stuff, and my terrain. I'm like,
I don't think it's.
I did that with the Aegis gun line, with the
plasma obliterator,
the Sky Shield landing.
What
was it? The bunker. I mean, that was in everyone's list for like a year.
Yeah, I literally played with a Sky Shield landing pad with Grey Knights and Necrons on it. It changed the way that entire army played. And I got bailed out at Vegas because of my plasma obliterator hitting a bunch of Eldar that made the other player unhappy. But I rolled lucky, and it was like a 10-inch plasma template.
You were totally losing that game. It was Taudar too.
I was losing that game.
It was Taudar, and you just got the perfect hit, just wiped his shit.
Yeah, perfect hit. And the entire game flipped in one move.
I came by and you're like, yo, I'm losing this one, dog. And I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Came back and you're like, I'm one. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But I see the same type thing. Like you just carry your little building. Now, granted, with the fortifications, you're only bringing one thing. You know what I mean? You're not expected to show up with your half of the tables.
Yeah, it's a bit, and
it's a big ask because honestly, like if we're talking 40, we're talking about 100 of my points are just these two features, and like 40 and a 60 point feature. It's not that much. It's not really. It's kind of weak, like.
And kind of like we talked about, like the only way that this really works without any type of exploit is you have to have the very specific Games Workshop model kit to make these pieces of terrain once these data cards in this book comes out. And so it's basically like, not only do they want you to supply all of the terrain for a tournament between all of the players, which then needs to get picked up and moved between every single table every round, which is a giant clusterfuck in and of itself, but you also are shoehorned into only buying and playing with GW terrain, which has, not had the best track record of the terrain itself working great for the rule set of the game that we're playing. You know,
and they've got the spikiest, roundest, least coherent for movement terrain possible for a game that they make.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the reasons we had the Band-Aid on terrain rules for almost all of 8th edition, because almost none of GW's terrain actually functioned all that great with 8th edition rules. And they're making this new terrain, these new kits that have come out in the past 6 to 8 months, and it's the same stuff. Like, they haven't really changed the design aesthetic or functionality. They just bundle
it different.
Yeah, it's the same.
Actually,
it's the same thing.
The new stuff that comes in a lot of these bundles, these engine sheds and the cloisters and the fanes, those are all push fit, and they came in the Command Edition. They came in the Battle Zone that already came out. So they are push fit, which is nice and super easy to use and more user friendly, but they're the same thing overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this goes back to something that I think Haspil brought up a long time ago. And then that led us to remember that there's organized play and match play. Like, these are words that GW started using in 8th edition. And this has kind of been pitched as match play. Right. And which is, like you said, Mike, that's the Friday night matches. That's not necessarily we already have this GT book, right? That's the big organized playbook, and so I feel like there's a reason why they're two different concepts, and 99.9% chance is never going to be something you even look at when you go LVO or whatever. On the 0.001% chance, that we go, I feel like it'll be treated exactly like Trampoline Dreadnoughts were at LVO 20. Like that, it'll be that serious.
I mean, that could just be an event, at a store, on a Saturday or something. Hey, we're going to use the terrain rules.
Yeah, the terrain rules for this event.
Yeah, because I mean, it's already been. I mean, this news is a few days old, so it's already been discussed ad nauseum, and a lot of the big TO people from the larger organizations have already come down and basically been like, "Yeah, we're not doing this."
You can't. There's not enough time. But what I do like is that you could, if this was a thing, you could at least buy the cards and then put the card down next to the terrain, so you're not
It's actually been handled a lot better than I thought it was, based on information you gave us earlier today. I thought it was, to quote Wyatt from earlier this afternoon, a quagmire. But I see it now as less of a quagmire than now that I have this new information, and more of just a game preference. Someone earlier in our chat on tactics discussion today mentioned Death from the Skies of Death, or what was that one, Mike?
Oh yeah,
Death from Above.
A while back. Yeah,
Death from all those
no one played that shit. Mysterious Objectives, bro. I remember 1 in 100 games someone rolling up a mysterious. There's so many little weird things that kind of the community just ignores. If it, and
yeah, they're there if you want to play it. You pick and choose, and if you want to play, and honestly, that's how we play the game anyway.
Yeah, because every game of 40K is played that way.
ITC just changed everything. Really,
even me and Mike playing a game.
Terrain works this way. Everything changes.
Even me and you playing, we go and we play. We're sort of changing no game of 40K has ever been played perfect to the rules. There's always going to be moments in the game where someone sort of authorizes someone to do something, and then that person kind of returns the authorization later. There is never a game where that does not occur.
Are you down with me putting my guy up here? Yeah, he can get up there.
There's literally not a game that does so every game is like that. So it's not a big deal if this new thing doesn't get used. That always happens. It's literally every day, all day.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no problem with people doing this. If they want to, like I said, on paper, I think it's a pretty cool idea. Right. What my stance is I don't want to see this in an actual event. Yeah. And I was laying out my reasoning behind why it doesn't really work, and it kind of breaks down, and there's all these ways to exploit it and blah, 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 because it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it's just basically we're just having a discussion about objective game design, that kind of thing, because we already know that we're not going to see these rules at LVO. We're not going to see these rules at the next big GT that you guys go to. It's not happening. But it is interesting to talk about because it is this new form of play, this new rule set with these terrain pieces and stuff, which is interesting to talk about.
Someone in the chat, and I think that may have gotten our channels crossed, Mike, he said, Chimera says, so we don't think TOs are going to use new terrain rules for GTs and such. That makes it all the difference. Do you mean like 9th edition terrain rules, Chimera? Because absolutely, that is
definitely use those.
They're definitely going to use.
Yeah, they're not. I thought he was talking about these terrain.
Right. So did I.
A supplement.
Yes, so that's what I'm talking about.
But when he says that makes all the difference, like that's where I got a little confused. Like the new terrain rules in general are highly complex and have a lot of additional keywords associated with them, which are fully not necessary.
Well, but that's 9th edition.
These new joints.
He clarified. He said he was talking about the supplement.
So I
think one of the things we can expect to see a lot of TOs doing is having little pieces of paper next to their terrain features on table. Like for example, the tournament that I'm going to this weekend, every piece of terrain on every table is going to have a little slip of like a little ticket of paper that has all of its keywords. Nice. So that way there is no hemming and hawing over. Oh, well, what do you want to call this one? How is this a hill? Is this an obstacle?
Yeah. And I remember tournaments doing that around maybe 5th, where you would go to a tournament and they had in the back of the packet they had an example table showing you what if this was woods, this is what it did. If this was a building, this is what it did.
Yeah, they had a little almost like a binder in between each table.
Yeah. And it was just like it explained everything. So there were no arguments. You could just look at them. Yeah. That's easy.
I mean, if I was running an event, that's exactly what I would do, because like I look at it from a player standpoint. And one of the things I don't like is any type of haggle phase.
Yeah.
Right. And what I mean by that is anytime that you and your opponent have like a disagreement on how something is supposed to work, and it's basically you trying to convince the other person to let something go in your favor, I don't like that. You know, I don't like at the end of the game, it's like, well, let's talk it out. I would have done this. I would have done that. I would have done this. And then I would have won. I'm like, no, the game's over. And this is that. I mean, like, and if it's in the spirit of sportsmanship, I'd be like, I'd give you like this unit so you can get a point. But at the same time, like if I'm going to give you that, I'm also going to say that like I took this objective, but I'm not going to let somebody talk me out of a game that I clearly won because of the haggle phase. Same thing with terrain. Like if somebody specifically picks a side of the board and then tries to say like, oh, well, I want to clarify this as this type of terrain because now it clearly gives them an after the fact advantage of picking that side of the board. And they're going to try to like, you know, haggle their way into that thing. I'm like, well, we didn't talk about that before. So no.
Yeah. Like there's no bargaining here, and anything that eliminates the bargaining.
I think for the most part, you know, everybody's going to vote with their hobby dollars because we all know that, hey, there's 12 more Space Marine releases coming out, not counting the codex and accessories, and at least 11 Necrons, not counting the codex and accessories. And it kind of seems like they're just trying to dangle this in front of everybody when it's a little slow and see who bites. But again, it doesn't seem like it's a must have. Maybe you want to buy the terrain bundle, save a little, get a little pieces of terrain. Maybe the cards, just because the cards are nice because they have the keywords on them. Like, hey, this is defensible. This is, you know, heavy, light, you know, dense, whatever, I forget, scalable, breachable. So that's a great game aid. So maybe there's value in that. But I think at the end of the day, just vote with your hobby dollars. Like you probably don't need this stuff. That's it. Buy something else.
Good point, Rob.
It's an optional expansion to match play rules that you can get if you want. That's all it is.
Yep. I'm still debating whether we're going to cover the rules. I'm definitely going to get the combo box, talk about the value there, but I just don't feel like it's worth talking about the supplements on my platform, at least, because
I suspect I'm probably going to pick up one of those combo terrain things just to add to my terrain collection, not to use the rules, but just because.
Yeah, because the Genome terrain is fucking dope.
I will say this, that little storage fane, where it's I'm not sure the direct things, but like just kind of eyeballing it, it looks maybe like a 6 inches long by 3 to 4 inches deep, 6 inches tall little ruin. I think that is an amazing piece of terrain for 9th edition, because in all of the playtesting that I've done, the one thing that I've constantly noticed is that having huge pieces of obscuring terrain is bad for both players, but having small to medium sized pieces of obscuring terrain and lots of small to medium sized obstacles like those storage containers all scattered throughout makes for a much more even game in this format. So I think that storage vein is a great little type of terrain piece in that it can have all of the keywords that we want from something of that size, and you can have a number of them without totally covering the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you're looking for a pre-painted version of it, GameMat has
GamerMat.eu.
Yeah, GameMat.eu has several sets of pre-painted terrain that come with those cool storage crates, among other things. So, and
nice.
I think I want to say the big sets are like 150-ish.
They're ridiculously priced, and they're narrative looking terrain. We used to use them a lot back in the day, man.
They are great, and they're pre-painted. Yeah. They got 44 by 60 mats too, so all that stuff super usable. I
just bought some terrain from Death Ray. They have some really good pieces of terrain, kind of what I was talking about for obstacles, and their IN City, so like capital I capital N dash City set. They have a lot of these sort of like industrial pod, like boxy buildings that are smaller. You can stack them. And they also have a lot of connexes, like square shipping containers that are those perfect obstacle size. You can have like
the obstacles seem really important to the edition.
Oh, for sure. And so like if you want to get some on the cheap that still look really cool because there's this nice kind of sci-fi industrial, like industrial punk type looking terrain. I just bought some of those for my table, a bunch of the pod buildings and the connexes. So you can have like quadruple the amount of buildings rather than just one ruin that only does one thing. He has like this modular pod type thing. Really, really good value.
Nice.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we covered it all tonight, Rob. What do you think?
I think we crushed it. Haspil, take us out of here.
Ed, what an ugly thing to say. Does this mean we're not friends anymore? Ed, if I thought you weren't my friend, I just don't think I could bear it.